Breaking news, Dub Nation. It's the news that I personally have not wanted to hear this week, but Lauri Markkanen has reportedly agreed to a contract extension with the Utah Jazz and will extend not today, Tuesday, but likely Wednesday or shortly thereafter, as that eliminates any possibility that Lauri Markkanen will be traded during the 2024-25 NBA season. Now, this is not news that I wanted to hear, but before we dive into everything that's happened here with the Lauri Markkanen contract extension, this is why you subscribe, because good Warriors news, bad Warriors news, it does not matter. We still have you guys covered. We're bringing you videos every single day here on the channel, covering every trade rumor, every report, every piece of injury news, anything that comes out about your Golden State Warriors, we're covering it right here on the channel. So subscribe right now to never miss a beat on your dubs. Let's get into Lauri Markkanen's contract extension. So the dream is dead, right? We've wanted for basically the better part of 2 months here since the Warriors missed out on Paul George to pair Lauri Markkanen up with Stephen Curry, and that just seems to not be the case here. Golden State didn't make a big enough trade push with the Utah Jazz in order to get a deal done. Shams Charania reporting the news here. He said, just in, NBA All-Star Lauri Markkanen and the Utah Jazz are expected to agree on a massive long-term contract extension and sign Wednesday or later, making him untradeable for the entire 2024-25 NBA season. Sources telling me Trevor Jones, I believe his name is, and Anthony Slater, our guy from the Golden State Warriors, who followed up Shams' tweet here by saying, trade discussions between the Golden State Warriors and Jazz never really revved up to a serious degree after early July talks. Per source, Warriors have been under the impression recently that Markkanen planned to sign a long-term extension in Utah. So the deal was never remotely close. It doesn't seem like Golden State and Utah ever got into a framework of a trade. There were just offers thrown out there. Neither team was ever really serious about the offers that they were throwing out there, and a deal was never remotely close. So all the smoke that we heard over the past month or so about Lauri Markkanen coming to the Golden State Warriors, about Golden State wanting to land a big-time player like Markkanen in a trade, nothing was ever remotely close. And it's really unfortunate, in my opinion, that Golden State decided that they weren't going to go all in for Lauri Markkanen, because he was the one player who was available out there that could elevate this roster to a true playoff contender. Now, were they going to be a title favorite or a real contender in the West at the top with Minnesota's, with the Dallas, with the OKC's? Probably not. But this move, no doubt, would have gotten you closer to that goal. You would have paired up Steph Curry with a 7-foot demigod who shoots 40% from three-point range on 8 attempts a night. Super high volume for Lauri Markkanen. And the fact that you could have gotten probably the best fit out of any player that Golden State could have possibly traded for with Lauri Markkanen, it's really unfortunate that you look at Steph Curry and his final couple of years in the NBA, and you decide that you're not going to go all in on trying to win him his 5th championship, pairing him up with one of the NBA's budding stars, who at 27 years old, by the way, has the possibility to help Steph Curry contend now and also usher in the new era of Warriors basketball alongside the young talent that they have in Golden State. But like I said, neither side really acted serious about a trade here. Danny Ainge and the Utah Jazz. Obviously, Danny Ainge, we know with his time at the Celtics, a stiff negotiator, a guy who's known to fleece teams in trades, and that's what he was trying to do with Golden State. He asked for Jonathan Kuminga, Brandin Podziemski, Trayce Jackson-Davis, Moses Moody, the whole crop of Golden State's young talent. But Golden State never really met Danny Ainge in the middle on any potential deal. Here was Shams Charania reporting what Golden State's final offer was for Lauri Markkanen, and it's the offer that we thought or we knew was out there for most of the time here as Lauri Markkanen trade saga kind of went on. It was the Warriors receiving Lauri and the Jazz getting a deal centered around Moses Moody and basically every pick you can throw at the wall that Golden State has to offer. They had 2 unprotected first-round picks that they could have thrown, as well as multiple pick swaps. They could have given them the other half of the protection on their 2030 first-round pick that's going to the Washington Wizards, and multiple second-round picks were going to Utah in the deal. So we knew that Danny Ainge wanted a huge slew of draft capital, but they also wanted a top star. And Golden State decided that they were not going to trade one of these 2 players, Jonathan Kuminga or Brandin Podziemski. And that tells me that they have a ton of faith in these guys to be able to usher in this new era of Warriors basketball and not be a bottom feeder like Stephen Curry has said out loud that he does not want to be there in the Western Conference. So the Golden State has a lot of faith in Podziemski and Kuminga. We're going to talk about them in just a little bit. But I want to hear from you guys about this whole Lauri Markkanen saga, from where it started to where it ended up here today, Tuesday, August 6th. Are you upset that Golden State didn't trade for Lauri Markkanen? Do you agree with me that they should have went all in, paired him up with Steph Curry, and try to maximize the window that they have here in front of them? If you think so, if you're upset, type Y for yes down in the comments section. If not, if you think the Golden State's okay ushering in this new era and keeping all the young talent, keeping everything they have on the roster currently, type N for no down below. Next, like I said, the young Dubs need to step up. Golden State elected not to trade Jonathan Kuminga or Brandin Podziemski for Lauri Markkanen, so now it's up to them to really maximize what Golden State believes that they can be. But before we get into that, I got to get you guys dripped out. I've been mentioning Steph Curry a little bit during this video. Well, you can get his Olympic merch right here. Chatsports.com/CurryUSA to get yours today. Could be the only time that you ever have to get Stephen Curry Olympic merch. He hasn't played in the Olympics before, and at his age, likely won't play in one again. So the Paris 2024 Olympics is your chance. They have the blue, they got the white. Go get yours today at chatsports.com/CurryUSA. I'll put that info in the comments and description of today's video. Go get your Steph Curry Olympic merch right now. So Golden State, they're going to need a ton from Brandin Podziemski and Jonathan Kuminga. There's no secret about it now. There isn't a player really out there on the market that Golden State can go and acquire. And if they're not going to give up one of these two guys for Lauri Markkanen, they're definitely not going to give him up for anybody else that's being floated around in trade talks. Golden State has elected not to enter the Zach LaVine trade talks. They've not really entered the Brandon Ingram trade talks. So they're going all in on these two guys. And Shams gave us a little bit more clarity on what they decided to do here as to not making a Lauri Markkanen trade. They said Utah wanted Brandin Podziemski in the only theoretical deal, or in any theoretical deal. The Warriors were protective of Podziemski in the Markkanen conversation, and a few other league-wide trade proposals this summer, league sources said. Listen, Brandin Podziemski, you better be a mother effer if Golden State thinks this highly of you, and they're not trading you for a Lauri Markkanen, and they're not trading you for other reported deals. I'm assuming that Shams here is kind of reporting back to the Paul George trade idea and the sign-and-trade deal that they were going to get done, giving Paul George a 4-year max contract. They did offer up Jonathan Kuminga in those talks, but there was never any mention of Brandin Podziemski, and it seems that Golden State has a lot of faith in the young guard out of Santa Clara if they're keeping him out of multiple big deals like this. And it's, I wouldn't say easy to see why, but you do see the foundation of a really good player here in Brandin Podziemski, because he only played about 26 minutes a night last year, but still able to put up 9.2 points, 6 rebounds at 26 minutes a night for a 6'4 guard is really good. I mean, you're looking at close to 10 boards a night on a per 36 basis, and obviously becoming a very good facilitator, even this offseason. Really running the show for the Warriors Summer League roster and kind of being the primary ball handler facilitator for Team USA's select team. So expect those assist numbers to go up as well. And then pretty solid efficiencies for a rookie at 38% from beyond the arc. But I expect him to take a massive jump and to have a huge role off the rip. Steve Kerr trusted Brandin Podziemski more than any young player, more than even Jonathan Kuminga, who was in year 3 last year. Steve Kerr trusted Brandin Podziemski with the biggest minutes load, with the biggest role of any young player on the squad next year. So I expect him to have a huge role at the start of this season. Could be starting, but could be that first ball handler off the bench. Maybe a 6-man role is in the cards for Brandin Podziemski. But I expect to have a big jump, a big uptick in his statistical production next season. Here are my 2024-25 projections for Brandin Podziemski. I have him jumping all the way up to 16.2 points a night. I think he is a really crafty, multifaceted scorer who can get it from all 3 levels and multiple spots around the arc as well. So I expect his points per game number to jump up quite a bit. I expect his rebounds per game to jump as well, but not by a huge number. I think 6 rebounds for Brandin Podziemski is a really good number, but if you put it up to about 7, I think it's a suitable upgrade in that regard. 6 assists per game. This is near doubled from his last season's total, but I think that with still Steph Curry around and not having Chris Paul around, that has the opportunity for Brandin Podziemski to become a more involved facilitator and get teammates open on this Golden State roster. And then I expect his efficiencies to jump up a little bit, not too much, with the increased volume that Brandin Podziemski is due to have. Now, Jonathan Kuminga is the guy that, in my opinion, has to take the biggest leap of any player on this Golden State roster. They did offer him up for Paul George. There's no report that they offered him up for Lauri Markkanen, so that seems to be, that's telling me that they have a lot of faith in Jonathan Kuminga here because they wouldn't give him up for a 7-foot all-star. So Jonathan Kuminga, you're in line. You're next up, buddy, to be the number 2 option on this Golden State roster, and I hope you're up for it because last year you started off kind of in a little bit of unspoken beef with your head coach, Steve Kerr. Then you go and meet with him, and you take that big leap, right? You get to nearly 19 points a night. You get to 5 boards, almost 3 assists, and your efficiencies get even better. Obviously, we know Jonathan Kuminga attacks the rim at a high percentage and a high volume, so his field goal percentage at 54% over the last 44 games of last season is unbelievable. And at a 36% three-point shooter, I'm okay with league average from Jonathan Kuminga. And that's kind of where I have him for the 2024-25 season. If you look at my projections for Kuminga here, 21 points per game. So I'm expecting him to take the big leap and be the secondary scorer next to Steph Curry, because that seems to be what Golden State has lined him up to be. 6 boards a game. Jonathan Kuminga isn't a great rebounder. He isn't a guy who necessarily crashes a ton on the defensive glass, but he does crash a bunch on the offensive glass looking for putbacks and whatnot. So I expect his rebounding numbers to jump a little bit, not too much. Don't really see him as too much of a facilitator, but 3 assists a night better be a benchmark for Jonathan Kuminga, in my opinion. Then I expect the efficiencies from the field goal percentage to go down a little bit as he increases his volume as a 3-point shooter and then becomes a 37% 3-point shooter on the season. I think that's very doable for Jonathan Kuminga. He's been in the gym all summer, and I'm expecting a big jump offensively with his polish. So from my view overall, if my projections for Podziemski and Kuminga here come true, then I'm actually okay with keeping them out of any of these trade talks, not trading them for Lauri Markkanen, because you actually have yourself an established young core for the foreseeable future. Don't forget about Trayce Jackson-Davis, and don't forget about Moses Moody, who I hope can find his way into the lineup this season. But like I said previously, this Golden State roster now has almost too much depth with the amount of C+ to B- players on the roster. It's going to be hard to find spots for everybody and suitable minutes and roles for everybody to play on this roster. But as long as Podziemski and Kuminga take that leap, then I'm okay with missing out on Lauri Markkanen for the foreseeable future. But before we get out of here today, take your shot for me. Predict Brandin Podziemski and Jonathan Kuminga's stat lines like I did in today's video for the 2025 NBA season. I want to hear what you guys have to say because in the comments section, for most of this time that Lauri Markkanen trade saga has been going on, you guys have been adamant about keeping Brandin Podziemski in the lineup. So what do you guys think he's going to do? I better see big projections for Brandin Podziemski down in the comments section. What do you guys think these two are going to do for Golden State? Let me know down below. That'll do it for today's video here at Golden State Warriors Today by Chat Sports. Continue to subscribe to the channel for constant Golden State Warriors news and updates. Trust me, we're going to find somebody that Golden State can make a move for here without giving up a Brandin Podziemski or a Jonathan Kuminga. So you're going to want to stick here with us at the channel. YouTube.com/WarriorsTV. Stick with us. Subscribe. Go Dubs.